Craig, could you explain the work permit rule change, please? I'll give it my best. So what we're speaking about is there's been a change in the work permit rules that it used to be worked on a point system where you had to get 15 points to automatically qualify for a work permit, or you could get 10 points and go out on loan and build up credit. So you basically had to get a score of 15 based off things like level of your national team, you know, what level you've played at, and a few other bits and pieces that I don't remember. But there has been a change that makes it easier now for Premier League teams down to Championship, League One teams to bring in players who may not have qualified for a work permit previously, but now will. And you're allowed to bring in 2 initially for the Premier League, and then 4. And then I think it's 2 for the Championship. But basically, it'll make it easier to sign South Americans. That's the long and short of it. So this kid, Alan, that we're going to speak about tonight from Boca Juniors, he'd be somebody that may have qualified previously all right, or may have been there or thereabouts, but now wouldn't be a problem for Liverpool to bring him in. And again, I will talk about that in more detail. Thanks, dude. Hope we can pinch a few on the cheap. Yeah, because, like, there's nothing more frustrating than seeing a play. Like, imagine if you're a Chelsea fan, right, and you're looking at Enzo and you're thinking 106, but like he was a 10, 12 million quid midfielder 18 months ago. So yes, it would be a lot better if you could nip in there and get these lads before they come to Europe and you have to pay, I don't know what you'd call it, but idiot money, stupid money, fuck you money, whatever you want to call it. It is, yeah. It is surely a better thing. Even if you have to get the kid in, sign him for you and just send them out on loan somewhere for a year to see how they get on. But this kid from Boca Juniors, and before I get stuck into talking about the player, let me say one thing. That Boca Juniors jersey is absolutely amazing. Now, they've always had good jerseys, but that particular one that I've seen with this kid playing in it, with the collar, whoo, next level beautiful for me. I'm a big fan of Boca Juniors jerseys. But anyway, this kid, 21 years of age, 15 million is his release clause. I think he's a defensive midfielder, but I really do need some help on this one because I don't know anything about him. That's all I know about him, is that he's 21 years of age. He's one of Argentina's hottest properties, according to the publication that I read. And he's a 15 million euro release clause, and that Liverpool are interested. That is, that's all I know about the kid. So at that price point, and if he is a defensive midfielder, I'd feel way more comfortable because you've got Stefan Bajcetic, and we're not sure if Klopp views Stefan as a 6 or an 8 or a hybrid midfielder or whatever. Rather than go out there and drop, let's say, 40, 45 million on a Lavia, having this kid come in for 15, that makes more sense to me. That makes far more sense. The dude's name is Alan, or Alan, whatever way you want to pronounce it. Liverpool have had scouts over recently to watch them play. I think it was Tigray. I think that's the team that they were playing. That Liverpool had people over watching them. I don't know anything else. There is a tweet from @Planeta who are a Boca Juniors fan account, I think, about the player, if you want to go and have a look at it yourself. Yes, Alan Varela, that's the one. Varela, Varela. Not Barella, but Varela, yes. So Alan Varela, Varela. I know nothing about him, but we know Argentinians can produce some good midfielders. We have one of them, even though he's sort of Irish as well. And again, for 15 million, I'd like to see us take a punt on this kid rather than go out there maybe spunk 40, 45 million on Lavia, because I don't know how badly we're in need of a holding midfield player. Fabinho's still at the club. We have young Stefan Bajcetic. Tyler Morton's going to be back in pre-season, albeit I'd have some doubts about his longevity playing in Liverpool. Mane to Newcastle. I wanted to talk to you guys about that, and I want to ask people as well at home if you're watching. So Sadio Mane has been linked with a move back to the Premier League, and his most likely destination looks like it's going to be potentially Newcastle. So I want to ask straight out, if Mane signs for Newcastle, does that change your view of him? Because I'm not going to lie, it'll absolutely change mine a little bit. I loved Sadio when he was at Liverpool. I don't really have a bad word to say about the man. I had no problem with him going to Bayern Munich and getting paid. That's absolutely his prerogative. But if he comes back to Newcastle, I mean, while he's playing for them, he's the enemy. I don't care. When he's playing for them, yeah, as simple as that. Like, I want us to trounce him. I want us to kick him from one side of the pitch to the other. I want us to make his life on that pitch a misery, like any other opponent. I don't think it'll affect my view of him in the long term, but in the short term, Yes, it would. It would in the short term. I can't change that. It would. I understand people want to be positive about it, and I understand that he's a former player and all that, but I just don't like seeing former Liverpool players come back and play against us in the Premier League. I'm not going to hate on the man, but when we play him, I want us to kick him from one side of the pitch to the other, like any other opponent. Do you think he'll go to Newcastle? Well, they can offer him Champions League football. Great crowd to play in front of, in fairness. Like, the Geordie's a great footballing crowd. But you know what? There's one link that keeps coming up over and over and over again from different sources, and I can't get my head around it. So I wanted to just bring it up as a conversation. So Liverpool have been strongly linked to Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. And this is a link that I'm talking about from credible people. And the link won't go away, even with Newcastle in the Champions League and all this other stuff. So I basically just want to know, does anybody think that there is any chance in hell that we could talk him out of leaving Newcastle and coming to Liverpool? It's a step up in his career. There's no doubt about that, and I don't want to hear they're a Champions League club. It's a step up in his career if he comes to Liverpool. That isn't a debate. I just don't see us having the financial power to really manipulate that situation to make it a possibility. But honestly, when I say, I'm with you all, saying no chance, absolutely, I'm with you. But it won't go away. Like, these are credible people talking about these links. It's not like Ferrajes or anything like that. I'm talking credible English-based media saying that Liverpool are sincerely interested in him. My question would be, if we were that interested in him, why didn't we sign him when he was available? Well, wasn't it Leon he left to sign for Newcastle? And everything, like speaking to Brian about it or anybody from a Newcastle perspective, they think he's in love with the city. The fans are certainly in love with him. And there's talk of a contract extension, lots of other bits and pieces. So the reason I brought it up is I'm in agreement with all of you. I don't think there's a bleeding hope of it happening. I also wanted to ask, would you take him if he was? Let's say you could have Bruno Guimaraes or Varela for in and around the same money. Who would you go for? Would you take Varela or Bruno Guimaraes? Interested to see how you guys go with this one. I'd probably go with Varela because I like the versatility of Varela. There's something about Varela for me that he carries himself with class. He oozes class. And Bruno Guimaraes is an incredibly good footballer, but I don't know. I think for me, I'd go Varela. But it'd be one of those things you wouldn't be angry over either if they ended up in a Liverpool shirt. I think most of the chat are going Varela. There's a few Brunos in there, to be fair. But you wouldn't be angry with either, would you, in all honesty? And then the final thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, Darwin and the number 9. It looks pretty credible to me. You've got accounts like the Anfield Talk and that speaking about it. And I love the idea of it. I love the idea of seeing Darwin Núñez take over the shirt vacated by the great Bobby Firmino and becoming Liverpool's new number 9. I know there are people that still have doubts about Darwin, but this is one way of really reassuring him about Liverpool's belief in him, about Liverpool's confidence that he will become the player that we think that he can become. And I'm definitely in that camp that thinks that Darwin Núñez has a lot more to give, and that I think he's going to be a success. I think he'll score in bunches. I think, he'll be up and down because he's that type of player, but give him the number 9. Nothing wrong with it. I'm all for it. So if you've ordered the shirt at the minute, maybe cancel your order if you can, or wait and hang off. I'm sure that if he does change it, there'll probably be something like we've seen in recent years where you can get it signed or whatever, your old number. But I'd hang off, personally, if I were you guys, looking to wait and see what's going on with Darwin. Not really seen any other links to centre-backs or anything over the past few days. I know there's some stuff about Van de Ven, again, speaking about the fact that I think George Schmadtke was the one who brought him to Wolfsburg, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously Liverpool have a good in there. We know the player himself would love to come and play for Liverpool. We've seen reports of him previously. I think it was on Boxing Day or something. He went to see us against Arsenal with his father a few years back. So I've no doubts that that deal could be doable. But I also don't know anything really about the guy other than he's young. I think he's 23, 24, playing for Wolfsburg. After that, don't really know. So again, we'll wait and see what happens there with regards to a potential centre-back addition. And there's not really anything else that I've seen in the news over the past 24, 48 hours. The Annie Road End stand looks like it's starting to take shape now, and the club expect that to be ready to go for the first home game of the season. and looks magnificent. I have to say, it looks really well. So happy days on that one. Anything that gets an extra 7,000 football fans into Anfield is going to be brilliant. That'll bring our capacity to about 61,000 as well. So yeah, that is pretty much a whirlwind wrap around what's happened over the last 24 or 48 hours about Liverpool Football Club. And yeah, I'm excited about the future, but I'm also a little bit impatient because transfer business is something I do like to see Liverpool get done early. Partly because I am an impatient SOB, and partly because, much like Jurgen Klopp, I like the idea of the boys being in and ready to go in pre-season. So let me know what you guys think. Who's most likely? Who do you want to see? Who do you not want to see? And just for shits and giggles, if it became an opportunity, either Bruno Guimaraes or Nicola Barella, who would you choose? If you could have either at Liverpool Football Club, which one do you think is the better fit for our system?